Welcome back to Australia by Design, where I have my dream job of searching the country for the very best landscape architecture. Right now, Sean's in Brisbane to visit a very hot contender.
West Village is a unique project. It's actually privately owned, but open to the public.
It uses such a diverse mix of planting that for people from Sydney, they look at and think, whoa, that's a bit much, but it really is a fun place to be in.
For Brisbane locals, West End is Darlinghurst of Sydney, Brunswick of Melbourne, Northbridge of Perth. It's a mixture of Indigenous Australians, multiculturalism and student activism. But the area is changing. Young families and urban professionals are moving in, and so West End has to evolve. This is West Village Common. This is bang smack in the middle of it all. So, call me crazy, and I know you spent a lot of money on the space, but it doesn't look very architectural.
Yeah, we love hearing that right from the outset. For us, we didn't want an architectural design. It was a landscape-driven approach to creating a beautiful community garden. A big part of what we were trying to achieve here was a softening to Boundary Street, and it's a really hot, arid environment, Boundary Street. So the key move is about putting the water onto the street, the generosity of the trees and the planting.
So these trees weren't here when you started?
6 months ago, there was nothing here. This was an old admin building built in the 80s, horrible thing. So we made way for this beautiful parkland about 6 months ago, and these trees are about 30 years old. It's a 24-hour space, and it's a really unique space. You'll see in the garden here a little bit later the lights will come on.
Yep.
And it's surrounded by beautiful retail and nighttime activities as well.
Tell us the story about the chocolate at the bottom of the ice cream drumstick.
The drumstick is actually made in this factory behind us, the 1928 Peters Ice Cream Factory. That Queensland icon was actually an error, and it was a casting problem when they made the cone. The chocolate dripped down and set in the bottom of the cone, so absolutely fundamental to what we're doing here. It was all about restoring pride of place for the factory. This building has a lot of social and cultural significance for Brisbane. A lot of people worked here in the early 1920s. It lost its identity, so a big part of what we've done here is restore its engagement with our community and build a beautiful parkland around it.
So, when you're eating your chocolate at the bottom of the drumstick, this is where it started. There's a lot of effort and expense gone to this garden. I think you've cheated by 20 years, I hear.
Yeah, we've gone out and sourced 50 very advanced trees from all over Queensland and New South Wales and brought them into the site to establish this forest, Sean. The inspiration comes from the native forest that was here 200 years ago. Beautiful forests and full of native vegetation, and we've tried to recreate parts of that.
So we end up with a really rich canopy and a really rich understory. It's an expensive way to do it, isn't it?
It is, Sean, but we had a short time frame and just look at the outcome. It's fantastic.
It is beautiful. And tell us about the big garden gnomes that are in the garden.
Right, so they're not really garden gnomes.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
That's right. Wonderful pieces of art created by Bromley & Co.
It's pretty unusual to see that level of ornamentation and decoration in civic spaces. Normally they're much bigger pieces and much more, boring and dull, whereas they're quite rich.
They are. Instead of having one large piece, we wanted to have a whole range of artwork throughout the forest and artwork that kids could relate to and pieces that were intimate and memorable.
So water's a big part of this landscape.
It is, Sean. The water provides activation. It also provides cooling and some great play opportunities for kids.
Yeah, it's certainly very cool in here, and there's also thousands of lights in the garden.
Yes, 2,500 to be precise. We call it the Field of Light.
Modern civic spaces are often dull, uninspiring and ordered. And in Queensland, put heat into the picture and they're awful places. By contrast, this beautiful, well-detailed, welcoming and cool garden is a revelation.
With only 2 spots left in the top 10, which 2 projects have the judges selected to go through to the final episode?
West Village, Brisbane has got through, which is good to see.
It's something that is different for that area, but at the same time able to be used by so many different groups of people.
It's a great example of Brisbane landscape architecture and how a small park can create a little oasis in the city.
Shine of Remembrance has made it to the top 10. I'm happy about this one here. It was so well put together.
It's a really great example of how landscape architecture can affect us on a really personal level by extending the whole experience of the shrine.
Well, there you have it, with West Village, Brisbane and Melbourne's Shrine of Remembrance both selected by our judges to be a part of our top 10, we are good to go. Next episode, we count down to find Australia by Design's #1 landscape architectural project for the year.